Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Dive Jump, where we jump into diving. Today, we have a very special guest, Monica Farrell. Monica, tell us a little bit about your scuba journey.
Hi. Well, I came to Egypt, which is where I learned to scuba dive, in the mid 90s to work at American University in Cairo, in the Department of Comparative Literature as a professor. I kind of did my first try dive or whatever it was, again, sometime in the mid 90s. And then that was at Ras Muhammad, one of the main, at the time, places to dive that really only Jacques Cousteau had been to, that area in Sharm at the time. Anyway, I went on a try dive, and then it took me a couple of years to quit my job, drop my PhD, and go diving. I know. So you have to visualize, those of you who've been to Ras Muhammad or Sharm, that this was Virgin Reef at the time. So my try dive was like, Ross is like a vertical wall. So it was a vertical wall try dive, with like hammerheads below me, manta rays at the side, the whole plethora of marine life and coral life on the wall. So it blew my mind, like literally. And even when I was a little kid, I always dreamed that I could breathe underwater. True story. I just it was always in my head that I can breathe underwater, but it took me a long time to get there. Anyway, after I quit my job, I came to Dahab, which is just a little bit north of Sharm, which was very few people living there. It was a Bedouin village, still is. And yeah, I just started working at a dive shop, and I was just getting my dive master and doing the things that you do back then and living on the beach. I lived in a bamboo hut that I built with somebody helped me, Bedouin. I know. And I know, Gil, that you were in Eilat. So I actually lived in what was when the Israelis were in South Sinai, it was a stone schoolhouse. It was the schoolhouse that they had made for the Bedouin. And there's no mortar, it's just stone. And then I built a little husha called Aisha husha outside it. Anyway, that was me. Wake up, go to the beach, go diving, rinse and repeat. And then I became an instructor soon after.
In Dahab on the Blue Hole.
Yeah, the blue hole. So, I dived also. I left Dahab. I became a yoga instructor. I traveled back and forth to India a lot at that time. This is like the beginning of the 2000s, because I'm a yoga person. I'm a yoga teacher right now. And I did my yoga teacher's training in 2005. And then I created at that time, as tourism pretty much took over all of South Sinai, all over the world, any
Yeah, it's
coastal
now like
town.
Disneyland, you know?
I
You
know.
came there when it was like you said, hushot on the beach, right? It was just basically shacks on the beach, and now it's a pure Disneyland. You can fly into Sharm from anywhere. You have hotels, you have, everything. There's paperwork for every dive that you do.
Yeah, it's destroyed most of the reef. So you have to visualize whatever you've seen in reef. I saw all of it, like virgin, like it was Jacques Cousteau territory. Daha was the same. It was just un effing believable. It was. You told me not to curse, or you don't
No, no,
care.
you can curse out. We don't
I
care.
can say unfucking believable, just because I don't know how to describe it. Because nowadays that doesn't exist anymore. This
How
is
many how many dives do you think you did in the Blue Hole alone?
oh God, I don't know, 500, maybe more.
And how many times have you been through like the arch?
Oh, dozens, dozens.
And and
So, yeah,
and nowadays it's like, this is considered a deep technical dive. You did everything in independent doubles, like twin sets were not even a thing back then, right?
well, we started. Yeah, we were okay. I am not promoting this because I did get my technical diving license and I became a technical diving instructor, because I'm sure you know this, of how many people died in the blue hole. Because yes, I did that. I am not proud of it. We did not know at the time. We were all just like macho divers. I was like the only woman diving instructor, not the only, but one of the very, very few. There were not many women, and there were not many Egyptians either at the time. So, um, anyway, yeah, we would do the arch. We called it. We would go down really fast. The arch is like at 60 meters. Swim under it, and then come back up the other side. It's spectacular. I'm sure it's still spectacular, but so many people got oxygen toxicity, got narked. I lost it and went to the bottom. And then when I was a technical diver, I did work with Tarek Omar and some other people to bring some of those skeletons, dead people, up, and worked, tried to educate people. So yes, nobody ever should dive that on air. Never. You should dive trimix. I'm just going to say it.
So
Not good.
you've done several thousand dives in
Oh,
Dahab.
oh yeah. It's thousands. Yeah. And then,
Yeah.
I also worked in Malaysia. I worked, not Malaysia, sorry, Thailand, Indonesia, a little bit in the Med, a little bit here and there, but nothing beats the Red Sea. Red Sea for me was always by far the best. Now, I mean, like I said, I don't have no words for what's going on ecologically on this planet. It's just, I'm sure you're with me on that. If you've dived 20 years ago or whatever, it's just heartbreaking. It's
Do you
heartbreaking.
still dive like now, or you're done with it?
I wish I could. I know you said you wanted to ask me about my post
Yeah.
diving life. So so what I did is I went to India 2005 and I had a partner and we started this business, not a romantic partner, just a best friend kind of partner. And we started this business called yoga diving because even back then, even in the 90s, I saw where it was going. Where tourism was going, the people walking on the reefs, the millions of boats, all the pollution, complete non-awareness of tourists, and so on and so on. So I started yoga diving to basically meditate with the marine life and to teach diving in a mindful way, which also makes you a better diver, right? Yoga, you have to
Absolutely.
breathe, right? You have to be able to regulate your breathing. You have to regulate your emotions. You know all that, right? Yeah. And so all of the yoga exercises that we did, like in the morning, the early morning, would prep us, and I would teach diving that way through meditation, through mindfulness, through ecological awareness. And so I completely broke away from the diving community completely. And I didn't work for dive centers. I just rented my stuff and I did my own thing. Because I couldn't, it was heartbreaking. I couldn't watch it. It was just people smashing the reefs, trying to take pictures, all the things. So that's what happened. And then, yeah, so we did lots of crazy diving. We did endless crazy diving. And the fact that I did not die is just pure luck, pure luck, pure luck. And so I'm diving trimix and all, 90 meters and all the macho stuff, right? Then, in 2012, I find out that I started getting all these chest pains. And I had been in the chamber a bunch of times, even though I was a really good diver. Why did I keep getting bent, right? It was, as it turned out, I had a congenital heart defect. So I should not be alive. I
Is it
don't know
one of
why.
those PFOs?
No, it's not a PFO. It's way
Okay.
worse. No, no. It's like a bridged artery. Like there's a artery in my heart that at birth is buried under. I shouldn't be alive. Long story short, I don't know why I am,
So
but I
you did
am.
these long decompression dives for
Unbelievable.
years
Yes.
with no real ill effects, and then at some point you started getting bent in 2010, 2012 timeline.
Yeah, I did have ill effects. I would get like weird post dive oxygen toxicity. Like I would go on these deep dives, right? And then I would feel fine during the dive and during the decompression. And then later I'd come out and start like hallucinating, which is like oxygen toxicity, right? It was just very
Or
weird
something.
because,
I don't know.
or something. I don't know. But anyway, so I am not diving at the moment, but I've been back to Dahab a few times, and I do like free diving and stuff like that. I haven't gone into scuba, although I have to force myself to not do it. The doctors don't know if it's okay or not. They don't know.
So basically, you're no longer scuba dive, but you were there when technical diving was popping off. I mean,
Yeah.
that was the time, that was the scene. People were dying left and right on deep
Yes.
air dives.
All the time.
Um, and I remember. So you're kind of famous in the Israeli community because you appear in a movie about um, narcosis. I think it's the one about narcosis that
Yeah.
Elias did back in like the 2000s, I want to say like 25 years ago,
Yeah. Something like that. Because of
with
that lovely young boy, Yuri.
Yuri Lipsky. I think
Yeah.
So whenever anyone talks about Yuri Lipsky, I remember like you talking about like because you did the body retrieval with Tarek or something. You were doing body retrievals back then with Tarek.
Yeah, Tarek was doing it. It wasn't really me. I was more just his support. I wasn't.
Okay.
He went where no person should go. He risked his life. There's no doubt about it. He
Yeah,
has
back
some
then
sort
it
of
was
yeah,
100 meters back then was considered like 50 was considered deep, 100 was considered unbelievable.
yeah.
Nowadays, people
I know.
casually go down to 150 meters.
Yeah, on Trimix, but I'm sure it's not casual. What it does to your body is not casual at all. But yeah, I mean, for sure, the techniques are so now advanced, and all the different mixed gases you do in the decompression, and the science is much better, and the safety is better for sure. But back then, they just jumped. They just jumped and sank to the bottom, grabbed what they could, and then popped back up.
So, what does it look like to be a scuba gal, essentially like one of the OG scuba people in Dahab? I mean, you were at the center of like technical diving, like deep technical
Yeah,
diving,
yeah,
at the place where everybody wanted to be at the time when everything was going off. And now, fast forward, let's say 10, 15 years later, you've been out of it for a while. Like you don't really participate in the world. People forgot about you.
I didn't even pay attention back then. We were just, back then, Dahab was still a very small village. Yeah, we had tourists, but and tech diving wasn't very known at all. It came from the cave divers, right? And it really wasn't known. And people just thought we're a bunch of weirdos with all our tanks and egomaniacs. And there was a lot of that. But you know, but yeah, it wasn't really famous. It was a very small kind of subculture, super small. It wasn't widely known. So yeah, now it's more widely known, of course.
So what does it look like? I mean, do you still have relationships and like long-term effects from those days? Or is it kind of like it's something I used to be, I'm not really that person anymore?
No, I definitely, I've been back and forth to Dahab many, many times. I speak Arabic. We had our family there, my Bedouin family, my Egyptian friends. Oh, definitely. This was my whole adult life, really, and not my whole young adult life in Dahab. So I consider it my home. I still do, to be honest with you. I had to come back to the United States because of my health and because of my parents were aging and things. But no, my heart is still underwater. I force myself to not go into scuba when I'm there. I just go down free diving. But, I probably could. I'm just like, well, maybe I should wait till my daughter's old enough and she doesn't need me. So if I don't make it out, it would be okay.
What a crazy thought. It's like, well, maybe I should wait until my daughter's old enough to be independent so that if I go down and I kill myself, she'll be okay. Like,
I know.
uh,
We're free.
talk about rationalizing, right?
We're freaks. I mean, there's a lot of people who are really into diving can be very freaky. I mean, I think we're pretty freaky, but
I think
there's nothing like it.
I mean,
Nothing
I
like
think the yoga diving is, you touched on it a little bit. Okay, so mind-body connection, super, super important in diving, especially like the kinesiological, I think it's called connection, right? So, you think about something, you move something, and I think a lot of people need that, like, especially people who sit in front of computers and click all day. So I think that there's a huge connection between yoga and diving because, you know, it helps your sac rate. It's generally good for your health. There's a lot of breathing, like concentration on breathing in yoga, and all the other ones. I mean, you specifically do yoga, but it's like, the Pilates and the all the other ones. But I think it's a net positive to do these things. Some of the best free divers in the world, they will do like 2, 3 hours of meditation before doing their big dives in order to like get their body ready for it. So I mean, it obviously is helpful, and there's a huge connection between free diving, yoga, and scuba, even just in improving your sac rate.
Well, yeah, but and for me, a lot of it was, it's really the mind. It's not just the body. Yet all that you said is true, but a lot of it is the mind. Especially when you're doing dangerous diving, whether it's free diving or scuba, your mind has to be very present. You can't get distracted, especially back then when you didn't have lots of backup. We were in the middle of the nowhere. There's no chamber. There's barely a tiny little O2 bottle for your first aid. There's like nothing. So you have to be very, very present. And the thing is when you meditate a lot and you do yoga a lot, your body mind becomes extremely fine-tuned instrument. That's why the free divers do it, especially. And what that means is that you feel the life around you, the marine life, the corals, all the animals and plants underwater, everything, as if it's an extension of you. It is an extension of you. We don't live separately from nature. Our egos say that we do, but we don't. There's no me outside of the planet, right? And so on, especially saltwater, since that's what you and I are made out of, what, 70% or so. So that what happens is you go in it, like with the yoga dive, you go almost like an alternate state of consciousness, it's very hard to describe. So it is what you're saying, but it's not just mechanics of fitness. It is definitely changes how your brain is wired, how you think, how you relate to the world, your communication skills with all living beings. It's pretty cool stuff.
I tend to agree. I don't have words to explain it. I know that when I am diving and that like I know that people have this profound exactly the same. You saw mantas and hammerheads, but I've seen people who like saw three guppies and a goldfish and were
I
like,
know.
I had a
Right.
profound effect, right? You see people who like saw
Yeah.
an anemone and like literally a cluster of rocks this big with like 1.5 corals, and they were like, this is the most amazing thing. Or like went on a night dive and saw like, a few planktons while they're going like this, which is nothing. Like, there's so much more out there. And it has this profound effect on the rest of their lives. They remember it and they, you tell them you scuba dive and they will bring it up in conversation like this had a profound effect on me. And I think that if you do it enough so that, you get over all of the physical stuff. It's I'm wet, I'm cold, the booty didn't fit exactly right this morning, the gear, the all of that. Once you get to a certain point, that meditative state that you're talking about, that altered state of being, I think is easier to get into.
Totally.
And I want to say that most people have some form of it where like so one of my friends says it's basically like the conversation that I have in my head changes. And I'm like, I don't understand what you mean. It's like that's the best they can explain it. And other people say like the volume on everything else turned down. And then
Yeah.
another person said it's kind of like they call it like high speed meditation. So instead of having to like sit there and breathe for, I don't know, 30 minutes to get into that state, it basically, as soon as the regulator's in the mouth, as soon as their face is
Yeah.
in the water, it's like it's almost like immediately going into that slower, more condensed way of thinking. I don't know. Again, I don't have everything that I'm saying is the wrong way of explaining it, but I'm just trying to like that's what I think you were saying, right? I think it's the same thing.
Totally. I used to call it instant meditation because so many people say, yoga is hard. Like diving is a very difficult sport to master, especially buoyancy. And just unless you spend your childhoods in the sea, your body, spatial awareness, and all of it, and slow breathing. But the meditative state to me is once you go in, once you've mastered it, even at an open water level, like you've got your basic buoyancy, okay? You got your basic breathing, you got your basic swimming underwater. You get instant meditation.
Agreed.
Absolutely. And the thing with yoga, and this is, neurologically actually proven through science now, is that it changes your brain waves. It changes how your brain chemistry permanently. If you repeat meditation over and over, which is why you practice yoga as a practice, that your brain changes, your neurons change, your neurological makeup of your body changes, your emotional landscape changes. It is very profound. And I totally agree with you that even a beginner can go in and get instant meditation that might take them years of other kind of practices to know what we're talking about, right? Exactly what you're saying.
Uh,
You can't really
that's
describe it, but you're in another state of consciousness. It's very addictive. It's very blissful. You feel at peace, right? You've got the blue color, like your background. We're made of water. All of life comes from the sea. I think it's very primordial. So yeah, so that was a big deal for me in my yoga journey. I kind of created that, or I made it a thing. So to bring tourists into that meditative state, not looking at nature as something to consume, which is also very big in any kind of endeavor in nature, whether it's mountain climbing or photography or whatever it is, that people tend to look at nature as a consuming, something to consume, right? But this is more like this becomes you. It is you. You're in the water and you're not separated from it. And it is, you're totally right. It's like taking drugs. I think I don't take drugs, but that's what people do.
Yeah, I think, look, and you have years of experience. I mean, again, it's easy for me to say because I've been diving since I was like 15 years old, right? And for you, it's like you said, most of your adult life, you've been in the scuba world, and like you started your young adult life, right, in the scuba world. And so for you, it's kind of like that journey happened a long time ago for us. And I think that once you become an instructor and you put other people through that journey and you see it in their lens, if you're very young and you start this, you kind of forget that this profound thing happened to you. It's just always been part of your personality or part of your journey or whatever. But I think if you're an instructor, so I call it going into instructor mode.
Mm-hmm.
And so like as soon as I get to like scuba diving instructor world, like I'm already like it's like drugs, but you're already the placebo effect is already going. Like I don't even have a
Well,
regulator in my mouth yet. I'm already like I know it's about to happen. I anticipate it. I can feel my body anticipating it.
yes,
And
totally.
so, I mean, I think that there is a connection. I think that people who just, drink beer and are like, "Oh, big ego, you know, they miss that part of like the amount you can become a better diver, I think, by practicing mindful anything. I mean, you call it yoga, as other people like just call it mindfulness and being there and connection to the world or whatever. Free divers do it all the time. We have an episode on free diving that we talk about this specifically. Like you need to practice this. If you practice yoga, you become a better diver. I think that a lot of people have agreed that that's true. If you practice free diving, you become a better scuba diver. But it's kind of like saying, well, if you eat your broccoli and celery, you become, just healthier in general, which is like, yes, that is correct, you know?
Yeah. Yes. And also you become a hope for my goal for yoga diving was that you become a more aware person. Like instead of again a consumer of the world, you become um you have a non-dual relationship with the world, with especially with nature. So in that way, when I'm talking about my not living in Dahab anymore and living in the United States in a highly industrialized place, it is difficult for the heart chakra, for your emotional life, when you feel so intimately connected to that. When you're diving, you're in a
You're
different
in the
medium.
environment.
You're not a person anymore. You're like a mermaid or a merman. I mean, in a way, right? You're in a what I don't want to say alien, but you're a different being, if you like.
I,
You can become a different being. You have a different state of consciousness. You have a different way to speak and relate to all animals and people. So I think it's very profound if it's taught that way. And I totally hear you that most of diving, which is why I dropped it very early on, is
is
very
not
like
taught that way.
no, it's taught like a because Patty, as you know, more than I would say the main part is very consumer oriented. Well, you know that it's American, so it's all about consuming and selling, and people want the experience, and they just don't know. Like they don't know how intelligent octopi are, until they
It's
watch that movie about the octopus. You know what I'm saying?
I saw that my octopus teacher,
Yeah.
excellent documentary. It was very good. And in general, I mean, if you've seen when you dive in the same place a lot, and
Yes.
there's a specific moray that sits in a specific
Yes.
rock, and there's a specific
Yes.
octopus that sits in this particular place, you start to see that these are, this is not like a discussion on what is intelligence, but you start to see that this isn't like a purely dumb fish. There's more there. The whole like fish are friends, not food kind of mentality that came out of that animated movie that I forget its name. But I mean, I don't think it's taught that way. I think there's a huge amount, and you can see based on the number of females diving that basically the agencies are tickling that part of the male brain that says ooga booga, strong, Navy SEAL, everything is like, uh, and the militaristic way of doing things, which, the origins of scuba diving are unlike some things. The origins of scuba diving are not the military. It's actually the opposite. The origins of like diving come from like more soulful and it's more like exploration. And then it got, used as a tactical thing. But I think that, like you said, the consumerist way of marketing scuba in general, and it's kind of weird because like if I'm talking to someone who just learned how to scuba dive, that's all they know. They just they learned you got to buy the new computer, you got to buy the best gear, you got to buy, a regulator from 20 years ago is going to kill you for sure.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, what? I have a regulator from the 70s. I still dive the same regulator. Buy once, cry once. I have the same wing.
Yeah.
BCD just keeps going for like 20 years if you maintain it right. There's no reason for it to not go. I'm like, it's old gear, yeah, but it's really good gear. It was good when it was made, especially for the kind of like ditch diving that they're going down to 20, 25 meters
Yeah.
on like a Caribbean vacation. It's not exactly, you're not doing ice diving to, 100 meters. So I mean, I feel like the push to do more faster, and if you're not doing this, you're doing it wrong. I'm like, I have a whole different way of looking at it, but I do understand that it's a business and the people who do this for money. A lot of people start maybe with like, you know, isn't it going to be cool to have a dive shop? And then it becomes like but yeah, but we got to feed our kids. And it just is sad. Look, you see what happens, and most people will say, man, the reefs from 20 years ago were so much better than they are right now.
Oh, well, this is global. This is all of
Globally,
nature
globally.
everywhere, the mountains, the desert, everywhere. So what I was working towards in yoga diving is, of course, a shift in um, how we present diving as instructors or professionals to the people, like you said, they just don't know anything. So it's up to us as instructors to teach what we know. And this is what I knew, this connection to nature, and of course, how to dive so well in buoyancy, right? So well that you're not doing no harm, right? Leave no trace, that sort of
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
mentality.
yeah, yeah. Leave
So
nothing but bubbles, right?
exactly. So you can't do that when the dive centers next door to me are taking 20 people in the water with one instructor. It's just not possible.
It's just not
So
possible. And
no,
and
so
and look,
I
Egypt.
yeah.
So look, I want to say this. You lived and you still have a strong connection to Sinai. Sinai and Egypt are two different entities in my mind. Like the
Yeah.
Cairo, Egypt that people go to see the pyramids, that is Egypt.
Yes.
That looks and feels different than Sinai, which
Sure.
is its own kind of. And I know that Sinai has become a little bit of a Disneyland for a
A lot.
like for you say, yeah, exactly.
It's a
It's become
lot.
it's become a Disneyland from Ras Muhammad to Taba. It's basically
Yes.
become a divers, and this is where people can go get their from Europe can get their Egyptian vacation, but it's not really the Arab world. It's really like, it's the light version of it. It's like the
Well, it's originally Bedouin. It's
Bedouin.
not
Yeah.
Egyptian, it's Bedouin. So the Bedouin have their own culture, own language. When I did yoga diving, that was also part of my business. So I supported myself with yoga diving. I didn't do it for free, but I didn't make a ton of money because I only did small groups, right?
Yeah.
Because I can't supervise, I can't do this with a big group. So I had like 3 people. I can take care of everyone. No one's touching anything. And I always hired Bedouin, to do the driving and fill the tanks, all the things, right? And and we did meditations in the desert. We introduced people to Bedouin culture. It's completely right. It's completely different
And as
from
far as the
Egyptian
Bedouins
culture.
are concerned, they actually will say, like you ask a Bedouin, and they will say, yeah, no, no, Sinai is ours. If you're
Yes,
Egyptian,
sure.
go back to your dead pharaohs and your pyramids, go back to that place. That's where Egyptians belong. They don't belong here with us in Sinai.
No, because Egyptians are settled. They're farmers and they're urban.
Yeah.
Bedouin are traditionally nomadic. They still have camels and stuff. They live in the desert. So any indigenous person group of people who live in the desert have a very different mindset and the way of thinking, and their relationship to nature is really beautiful and profound. I mean, I know it's changed a lot, but back
Yeah,
then
yeah.
it was incredible. We would always take our people to the desert, always, to do the meditations in silence. It was silent and dark and stars. And well, you've probably been there. Remember all
It's
those star
unbelievable.
showers and.
Look, people these days, it is still, I think it's still a big deal for especially people from the US. But I think it's still a big deal to go to Egypt, to go to Dahab, to dive the blue hole. Like if you're a technical diver these days, it's on everyone's bucket list. And I
Yeah,
know that you've done this again, you've done this time. You should just, yeah, let's just grab a tank. You probably did it on a single aluminum 80 or like a single
I did.
12-liter tank.
I did. Yes.
Yeah,
No one should ever do that.
I, I, I know people used to do this. I mean, people used to die doing that, but
Yep.
thankfully not. It doesn't quite happen as much anymore. But I mean, now it's like free divers want to go through the arch. They want to do like the thing on a single breath hold. So I mean, it's still considered this magical, unbelievable place, like the eye of the desert. If you look at it from a the aerial photography, it looks amazing. You look at videos of people who go there, it's like this amazing thing. It's in every documentary about deep diving. It is like the place to be, and it's just I think it's fantastic, like in the most positive way possible. That for you, this is like, yeah, this is home. This is like where I learned to be a diver person, and this is where like for you, that's like, yeah, obviously I've been there. Obviously I've done that. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
so what is on your bucket list, given that Dahab is is out?
Well, it's not, here's the thing though, I did thousands of dives, thousands. I don't know how many thousands. It's so many. And it was never automatic for me. I'm underwater, even out of the water. This is maybe the way I'm built, or maybe it's because of so much yoga practice. I'm not sure, but I'm very present with it. So it's not like been there, done that. I don't have that. I'm like in water, in the place, the blue hole or wherever, and I'm right there. And it's like my first time,
But do you have
literally.
a bucket list? I like, is there a place that you're like, man, if I was going to ignore the doctors one more time, or if I was going to like, if you sent me to place X, like I know, for example, I never want to be in a dry suit. I hate it.
Yeah,
I hate it. I hate the cold.
I don't
But
like it.
if I go to Iceland to do that dive between the two tectonic plates, I'm going to put a dry suit on.
Yeah,
I'm going to do that dive.
yeah, same
One
here.
time, sure,
Yes,
one time.
same here. Yeah, yeah,
Or
same.
like if I go to Antarctica and there's the opportunity to dive in Antarctica,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't
yeah,
care. I cold. I hate dry suits. I hate the cold. I'll do it.
yeah, same here.
Uh, But so is there a place in the world that you're like, man, I wish I would have gone there when I was younger and dumber and
Yeah, I don't know. The only place well, not the only place, but I've never dived in the Caribbean. I've heard that it's very nice because there's lots of
amazing.
really, yeah, I've heard that, and lots of cool sharks, and I would love to be with more sharks. And I have to tell you, it's not diving, but it might be next year. I went to Mexico on a yoga retreat in this past January. I took a bunch of students and we went to, I forget the name of the bay. It's in San Pancho, or sometimes called San Francisco, and it's one of the main places where whales come to have their babies. So it's basically humpback whale kindergarten. And we went on these little boats, and I mean humpback whales, like you could reach out and touch them.
Amazing.
That was my bucket list. I did that yoga retreat to go see the whales. And then we went snorkeling in the Marianas Islands, which isn't spectacular, but there's a lot of bird life there. And so I don't know, any big marine animal for me is like, I mean, I've dived with dolphins. You probably have. I don't know how safe it would be to dive with a whale, but it would be pretty incredible,
I,
or at least
I
snorkel with a whale.
I don't know. I mean, it would. I did like the swim with manatees once, and that was pretty cool. I don't know. So you like the big animals. If you've never been to the Caribbean, I mean, there are some places in the Caribbean that are just unbelievable. You would be this
Yeah.
place is heaven.
We need
So
to talk after this, and you have to tell
absolutely.
me, and or maybe we shouldn't, because I have to hold myself back,
I just
honestly.
don't want you, I don't want anything to happen to you. You know, I'm a pretty good rescue diver, but I don't want to have to do that, in some Caribbean island.
I
Um,
know.
but look, Monica, I mean, we could spend hours talking about. I'm just so happy that I could find you. I know because you're like one. People don't remember this, but you're one of the OG Dahab Sinai like blue hole divers
I
from back in
know.
the day. I know there's like a 30-second clip of you in like a documentary that only aired in Israel ever.
I know.
Um, but but it understates just how much like you were there at the time with the people, and you're one of those people that is part of that like history. And I just want to thank you for taking the time. I know this was like a lot of back and forth, and I'm just happy that I could do this. If you ever want to do this again, I am happy to talk about like specifics and not just like a big survey of all topics. I'd like to have you on as a regular. I know that you're in the US nowadays, so I'd be happy to. But thank you so
Oh,
much for taking the time.
you're very welcome. It would be
I hope you
fun.
had
Yeah.
fun,
Yeah.
like reminiscing about the old days.
Oh, we lived in paradise. We lived in
Yeah.
paradise. There's no other word to describe it. So I just feel incredibly grateful. I have no words for it. My daughter was born in Dahab. Incredibly grateful to have been in that world.
Before it
Magical,
was Disneyland, before it became what it
magical,
is today.
absolutely magical. So glad I connect with the fellow person who has been there. That's where we have a special shared experience
Look,
for sure.
all three people who watch this, my mom included, will probably be very happy that you got on.
Oh, bless. Okay, well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Ciao.